Kosovo is a young, secular democracy in the Western Balkans, which is a country of 1.8 million people. Its capital, Pristina, its ethnic makeup, 95% Albanians and 4% Serbs and 1% Turks, Hungarians, Bosniaks and other groups. It was formerly part of Yugoslavia. Former Yugoslavia was a federation of multiple different states that lasted from 1918 to 2003 or 2006. Depending on what way you want to look at it. Kosovo was an autonomous province within Yugoslavia, and it won its independence in 2008. Not necessarily won, but they declared their independence in 2008. Now, that was 9 years after the Kosovo War ended. The Kosovo War was a conflict that lasted from 1998 to 1999, and it was a war fought between the Kosovo Liberation Army and the Serb-dominated former Yugoslavia, which at the time was on its knees. And the Kosovo War was ultimately the final war through a series of national and ethnically focused conflicts that led to the breakup of Yugoslavia. But it is now an independent country with its own laws, government, parliament, judicial system. So I'm just going to summarize things really quickly. This is a series called The Voices of Kosovo. The Voices of Kosovo, I embarked on a journey across over a year, 4 weeks out of a year, where I decided to go around the country and speak to people, politicians, right to the upper echelons of society, right down to the very common man, just to find out what they think about their nation, what they think about the future, and how they feel things are going to pan out. Serbs and Albanians historically don't really get on, and part of Kosovo's independence struggle was ultimately due to them, the ethnic Albanians at the time, wanting to break away from the Serb-dominated Yugoslavia, which was led by then Slobodan Milosevic. Kosovo is a Western-leaning nation, and this is because in the 1998-99 war, Kosovo was ultimately liberated by two people, two countries. There were others, but the key ones were Tony Blair's Britain and Bill Clinton's America, or United States of America. Now, this is because the Western forces under Tony Blair and Bill Clinton decided to embark under the banner of NATO on a bombing campaign of Belgrade, which is Serbia's capital. And that was ultimately to push Yugoslavia's leader at the time, Milosevic, into a place of submission where he would stop the genocide against the ethnic Albanians. This benefited the KLA, which was the Kosovo Liberation Army at the time, and they were able to advance, regain their territory, and ultimately the war was brought to an end. So Kosovo has had a very, very rambunctious, big word, beginning. And there's many sides to this debate, whether you're a Serb, whether you're someone who is working for NATO or working for the UN, whether you're a Russian citizen or a British citizen, or you're a citizen of any other Yugoslav country, Albania, Turkey, everyone has got a stake in Kosovo. But ultimately, the stake that really matters is the people that live there. And the people in Kosovo take their direction from their government in Pristina, but ultimately the Serb minority doesn't necessarily comply with that. They operate under a parallel set of institutions, so things like education and healthcare still come directly from Belgrade, even though the Serbs are living in Kosovo territory. The country is home to the European Union's biggest overseas mission ever, and the European Union, through the External Action Service, which is currently led by Miroslav Lajčák, is the key to any mediation between Kosovo and Serbia, whether that's about recognition of the country itself, how the services work to the Serbs in Kosovo, and basically how they iron out disputes between the two countries, because there is no way in hell Serbia is ever going to recognise Kosovo in the near term. But what the European Union can do is they can resolve issues that make the lives of people better. This is not an advert for the European Union, but they are the ones in the middle of this. Obviously, America, Britain often stick their nose in. That's natural if you look at the history of Kosovo's bringing into existence. NATO still have a significant presence in Kosovo too. There's plenty of troops, especially in Pristina, in Camp Film City, which is an odd name for a military base, but it's right on top of the hill in the capital, and it's not the only military base in Kosovo. There's another one, which is more of a US kind of focused military base, but it's still NATO. It's in the city of Ferizaj, and it's called Camp Bond. So in the sense of Kosovo ever being under attack from someone like Serbia, who is a significantly bigger country with 5 or 6 million more people, the chances of that attack being successful is iffy. I'm not a military strategist, but that kind of wards the Serbian military off of actually doing anything significant in Kosovo. And when you consider all of these NGOs, military installations, European Union, the UN, NATO, you name it, Kosovo has a pretty solid presence of external actors living directly in the country. And in many ways, this fosters the nation building process. It helps their judicial system. It helps them govern better. It helps them create education initiatives. It helps them align more with the European Union's way of doing things. Even though they are not a European Union member, neither are Serbia. But the presence of outside actors, no matter what you think of it, does have an impact on Kosovo. So in this series, I have spoken to many people that are, I guess you would say, external actors. But ultimately, I wanted to speak to the Kosovar people, and I wanted to hear their story and their thoughts on the current situation with Serbia. It's a highly politicized issue, and it even culminated last year in paramilitary attacks in the north of Kosovo by Serb-affiliated paramilitaries, which were actually affiliated with the Serblist party, who were the political force that is guaranteed seats in the Kosovo parliament for the Serbian minority. So it can get pretty heated, and discussions around politics aren't always easy. So I've tried to keep some of these interviews fairly light, and they're not all going to bombard you with political stuff, but I hope you enjoy it, and I hope one day to do a similar series in Serbia, if I haven't said too much in this series. And yeah, I think it's really important to just get on the ground and speak to people, because so much of YouTube these days is just people walking around with a camera saying stuff but not really talking to anyone on a deep level, and I think YouTube's missing that. So if you want to sit through the entire interview, by all means, I would appreciate that. However, these kind of things are for dipping in and out. Perhaps you would only like to listen to a certain question. That's why I've timestamped the video with the specific questions that I've asked, so you can jump to that part. But moving on, looking forward to showing you the series, and this is going to be episode 1. Episode 1 is with Jeton Latifi. He is a local business owner in Pristina, and you're going to hear his thoughts on the Kosovo situation with Serbia, his life in Kosovo, and how things are for him. So, first of all, I want to ask you your name, your age, and your occupation as well.
My name is Jeton. My surname is Latifi. I'm 35 years old. I'm going to be 36 soon.
Nice.
And I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you worked in the hospitality business throughout your life, throughout your family life?
Mostly I would say, and that's why I'm into this industry now. Other than that, I've been also in other jobs, volunteering, like in Red Cross, different organizations, and I've been in the military for 4 years.
You've been in the military?
For 4 years.
Tell us about your time in the military.
Oh, it was quite interesting. I experienced lots of good things, trainings, which probably most of them I will not need them during my life, but still, it's a really good. It builds up your character, your personality, and lots of stuff. So just in case, knowing those things, it's good. So I'm not talking just about like combating and weapons and stuff like that, but I also I've been into trainings like hazmat and firefighting, search and rescue, communications, and lots of useful stuff for yourself, but not maybe in general for the society.
And this was with the Kosovo military, or was it with
Kosovo security forces?
With KFOR or someone like that?
Well, I was serving in Kosovo security forces, but of course that we have lots of programs that we narrowly cooperate with NATO and KFOR troops, and most of the training that we get from them. So
I see.
our army is building up by NATO.
So this was after the Kosovo War?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is 2010, 2014, my experience.
So you are a youngster
I
in many ways.
Yeah.
Nice. So what do they tell you about the Kosovo War when you're in the military? What do they tell you about the past? Do they politicize it? Tell me a little bit more about that side of things.
Basically, nobody needs to tell me a lot about the war in Kosovo during the war, because I experienced it by myself. We've been through the war with my family, and I know all about it. I was 12 years old, 12ish.
Yeah.
And we didn't go away. Actually, we stayed here exactly in this building where we are right now.
This same building here?
Yeah.
The building that's now the hostel that you run?
Exactly. So it's an interesting point of view, hosting lots of guests from most of the countries who helped us to stop the war.
Nice. So when you were younger and when the war was going on and you lived in this house, was there at any time where you felt danger, or the house was under threat, or the city was?
Yeah, absolutely. We couldn't go out. We didn't feel safe inside our houses because of the snipers in the two buildings. So here in the capital, Pristina, it's been a mixed population, so that's why it was not heavily bombed from Serbian forces like it was in Bosnia, for example.
Yeah.
But our houses have been shot. After the war, it's been like all bullet holes. They were pressuring us, threatening us during the NATO bombings. We had like cracked windows, broken windows, cracked walls. So yeah, it was terrifying. Nothing good about it.
So you say there were snipers around the city?
Yeah, so mainly the war in Pristina, how it was like psychological pressure. People have been beaten up, and snipers killed people around neighborhoods, mainly Albanians, of course. If Albanians were gathered in a small shop or cafeteria, Serbs they throw a bomb there, hand grenade, and then afterwards Albanians throw hand grenade to Serbs. So it was such kind of war, but not like intense or frontal war.
See, and Pristina was a lot more mixed at this point, you say?
Yeah.
And smaller as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people have been concentrated into the villages. Now it's the other way around, because after the war their villages have been ruined. So they came and they found shelter in the capital, and that's how the life started again in the capital.
Is there any moments specifically that you remember that really stick in your mind from those years when you were younger?
During the wartime?
Yeah.
Lots of moments. We had our own drills, the kids, for hiding up inside the building if something happens. And that was being organized from our parents. I remember when the Serbs used to draw with spray right on our walls, and it was smelling like chemicals, and our parents were afraid that they are poisoning us, so we spent some nights inside the basement. I remember when they shot in our house. I remember when they came by, the Serbian forces, to bring to their families food and weapons and ammunition, and they have been shooting in the air all the time. That was terrifying for us. That was my first time I heard the voice of AK, the sound of an AK.
Sound of an AK-47. That's something that I've never experienced before. It's
experiencing it now, it would be terrifying, but imagine for a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, when you're a kid, I think as a kid you kind of adjust these kind of things quicker than an adult.
Yeah, I mean, you can never adjust to such a loud sound when you're so young, but luckily it was stopped from NATO, and we are alive now. We are where we are.
Yeah, it's looking much better now. Things are looking much more positive for Pristina. It's a growing city.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now it's very peaceful. It's very nice. So we got really quick back on life. normal life. Now we have different problems.
Yeah, different problems, but a new
Peaceful.
more peaceful, a new government, but there's also renewed tensions with the Serbians today. What is your opinion towards what's going on at the moment, whether it's the Serb municipalities or whether it's the aggression on the border or Banjska? How do you feel about all of this? I know it's quite a big question, so take your time.
Well, to be honest, knowing the history, as a word says that if you don't learn from the history, history gets repeated. So that's what we are trying to do right now. If we learned a little bit from our history, we should always be prepared that Serbia will attack on us again, because the war in 1999, well, it was not the first one. The first genocide did not occur in 1999.
There was more prior to that.
Oh, absolutely. My family, my roots, the roots of my family, where they come from, is from Niš area. That used to be...
Niš is in southern Serbia.
Yeah, it used to be Albania at some point, a long time ago. So when the Ottoman Empire retreated their forces, the Serbs took an advantage and they occupied those areas. And that was the first time when the genocide happened. It was 1877 and 1879.
Yeah, the history is very complicated. And the Ottoman side of things complicates it more because it was back and forth between Orthodox, between Islam, between Ottomans, the Serbs, and obviously you have World War II. The Germans come in as well. So
yeah,
very complicated.
Yeah, but at that time, that was the first time when the genocide happened against us, and that's where my family comes from. So that's how I inherit that knowledge from the elders, and also we learn in the history, and we can find lots of books about that. And of course, we always know, based on the history, that they will always try to attack. They will always try to occupy us and to extend their territories because of their hegemonic attitude of the state.
Understood. And how do you see the future of Kosovo in relation to Serbia, or just Kosovo on its own? Where do you see the next 5, 10, 20 years?
As I said, if we as a nation learn from the history that we have experienced, we should be always prepared. When we are always prepared, and now we are stronger than ever, and we have the support of our allies, then we will easily stop them, and we will once and for all sort it out that this is the border and there is nothing beyond that. Serbs who are in Kosovo, I don't see them as an issue, and I don't think they see us as an issue, because we used to live here for a long time and we never had any problems. The main problem was in between Albanians and the Serbian state, because there have been always installed in the Serbian state people who had hegemonic attitude, and they always tried to...
Strong men.
Yeah, not really strong, but yeah, powerful because of the politics, I would say.
Powerful people.
So yeah, if we learn based on this, and with the support of our friends, international community, I think we should focus on building up our country. And the local Serbs, I think they can't wait to get integrated in Kosovo daily life, but they cannot do this because they are threatened every day from their own mafia, which is controlled by Belgrade.
Yeah, that's a very murky subject.
Yeah, these are people who are organizing attack and assault on our police in Banjska, in that area. And of course, I hope that international community finally will wake up. I don't know the reason why they still did not publish the reports of the investigations that have been held around Banjska situation. So the whole world can see what's happening there. So the whole world can see what they're trying to do. Because from what we've seen, it's like black and white that Serbian state is supporting their mafia and to make happen their own plans to annexation of the north of Kosovo, like Crimea, from Russia or something similar. I mean, at some point, even if Serbian politicians do not have courage to do that, if they get a signal from their big friend Putin to do so, they will definitely do it, even if it's against their will. They have to do it.
I see. Yeah, there's a lot of underlying interests in the Serbian government, whether it's Russia or it's the EU. I think it's a very complicated situation within Serbia. But you yourself, how do you see your relationship with Serbians? Do you have Serbian friends? Do you have Serbian colleagues? Have you met any Serbians?
Well, yes, of course. So we used to live with Serbians here before. I never saw them again, to be honest. And that's sad in a way, but on the other hand, most of them have been volunteering in the army. So Serbs who flee the country from here, they did not flee the country because they were under attack from us or any similar reasons, but they could not feel comfortable and peaceful here because of what they have done. Otherwise, there are other Serbs who have never been involved in the war, and they still live around, and we interact with each other. We buy goods from them. They mainly live in the villages, and they have really good stuff.
I still see Serbian goods.
I have friends. I know some friends who used to live in the north. They left their family and leave the country for the same reason, because they don't feel safe there. So there are two options if you live in the north. Either you will be under their instructions, Serbian mafia and Serbian government, or you have to flee the country. You don't have any other choices.
Would they flee back to Serbia or flee?
No, just to Europe. There's no future in Serbia. What future can somebody see in Serbia? Also, their youth is fleeing the country. But I also have had guests in the hostel who came and made a reservation. We have very good, I would say, fair relations. We never talk about things that should not be talked about. They come here, they enjoy the time, cheers to this, cheers to that, like any other guest. And we never had any problems or any troubles. And they didn't take an advantage of reviewing, giving us a negative review or something. So they are very polite and normal people. So I have to re-emphasize again. So it's mainly with political issues, with politicians and the mafia or people whom they are controlled from, that they make the troubles around, not just here in Bosnia or Croatia or wherever else. I would probably try to mention something which me personally I see a danger of, and that's the indoctrination and the brainwash that Serbian government have been conducting on its own people through the schools and history books, for example. So imagine for the people who are born in 1995 and further. Well, you know what they learn? They learn that Kosovo is Serbia. They have a mandate from God to come back in Kosovo. They should do this at any point and so on. So now those people are 25, 20 years and further, 20, 25, 30 years old. Imagine, what do they know about the history? Only what they have been told to and what they have been taught. So it's very dangerous, because what Serbia is trying to do lately to mobilize the country, these are the people that they are trying to mobilize, the people who are brainwashed. In one signal, they will not think anything further.
It's a dangerous mindset anywhere in the world, isn't
Absolutely. So, I mean, it is, but I'm not aware of any other country that does this. Maybe there are, but there must be like Russia or ex-USSR countries mindset. But for us here, it remains to live in peace until it lost. And if something happens, we would have to respond, because there is no other way to deal with it. We live in these homes, we don't have any other place to live.
You have to live. You have to live and continue with your life. So my final question, and it's a bit of an easy one: what's next for you, and what's next for the business, for the entrepreneurial side of things?
Well, I will definitely focus on maintaining and eventually growing the quality of the services we offer here in this business, and eventually start other businesses. I also am trying to start some other business which has to do mainly with handyman professions, which is there's a lot of demand. As we used to talk about, lots of constructions going on in Pristina.
Loads.
So all of those constructions, I mean, apartments, will be occupied from the families, and those families will need somebody to hand out their problems that they have inside the building.
It's a great idea when you look at the construction industry. So, I honestly, I wish you all the best of luck. And
Thank you very much. Let's hope the next interview will be mainly focused on the business, entrepreneurship, and economic growth, and no more political or conflicts.
that's the hope. The hope is to shift away from politics. And
Yeah, we're looking about that forward ever since after the war, but we wake up every day terrorized from news like Serbia does this, Serbia does this. You know, they're trying to do that, and at some point comes Banjska and so on. And so we always expect something for Serbia. I got grown up with those kind of news. So hopefully nothing moves on forward on that direction. But as you can see, lots of conflicts are popping up around the world, and we can expect the worst.
I know it's a bit of a crazy time to be alive, but things in Pristina seem to be moving fairly nicely at the moment.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you.